Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to episode 3 of season 4 of my podcast. How have you been? How have you found the last 2 episodes? So, in episode 1, we talked about having tawakkul in Allah and how to practically do it by humbling yourself and by trusting that the equations of your life will be solved for. You don't know how, but you just know it will. And then in the last episode, we talked about marriage and motherhood, and we explored how not every woman dreams of marriage and motherhood. And if she does, great. I hope it goes beautiful for her. And if she doesn't, it's okay to write a different script and to do it at a different timing and to do everything in a way that does not compromise the glow of her heart and the glow of what she really wants. We talked a lot about the freedom that comes from choosing what you want and not following a specific script of womanhood. And we really evaluated how the experience our mothers had in motherhood and marriage can really leave an imprint on whether we choose to follow in that line on our own volition or because we feel a pressure to in a certain way. And I hope it brought some comfort. I realised in that last episode I was quite strong-minded. I was very, very strong-minded. And throughout school I've always been like that. Any topic on feminism, I am usually the first to put my hand up, and my points, I let them come out of me like bullets, and you can't seem to stop me from firing. Over time, I learned to sort of soften my viewpoint a bit, give room to the other side to give their perspective. But I'm also still the same fiery woman I've always been. And alhamdulillah, I'm really happy that I've not lost that. And I hope that whatever goodness I can bring into each episode, whether it be courage, bravery, or just the flames that come with me, that you're able to take some of that too. Take some of that light, some of that glow, and put it into your life and use it to strengthen your voice and find yourself. And I think this is a very beautiful introduction to this episode that I think might be the groundbreaking one of season 4. So, sit down. Are you ready? I think you are. Because in this episode, I want to talk about, can a writer be a wife without losing her connection to her work? Can a writer fall in love without losing her passion, her flames, and her energy? Now, my first love has always been reading and writing, and to be married would mean to have found someone whose laughter lights up my entire world and sets my heart on fire. Now, during my engineering degree, I always felt like I was cheating on my writer self. Every time I worked on calculations, there was a sad voice in my head that whispered, "What about your novel? When will you finish writing it?" When I was in sixth form, there was a guy who I was friends with. We'll call him Sky, although I don't think the colour blue was his favourite. Sky loved reading fantasy novels, and I liked reading romance. And he'd always tease me for it and call me boring. And at some point, I got feelings for him. And me being me, wanted to position myself as someone worthy of approval. So I'd tell him about my dreams, from the novel I was working on to my desire to do amazing in exams. And I can never tell you what happened after the summer holidays, whether he realised how I felt about him, or if he was going through something, but he became very mean afterwards. Or maybe he was just a teenage boy, and I read too much into it. That's also a possibility. But I remember distinctly, 29th September, 2021. Yes, I remember dates very well. It was early afternoon, around 2 p.m. I was sitting at the computer trying to write chapter 3 of my novel, and Sky walked in the room. I turned around, almost instinctive, and he asked me, "What are you doing?" "Oh, just doing some writing," I mumbled. He scowled. Or maybe I'm wrong, he didn't scowl, but what he said next really hurt me. "You never seem to finish the stories you write, do you?" This was 2021. A simple sentence. I was 17, but something broke inside me. This was the guy I shared my dreams with, and had he been joking, I would have heard it in his voice and I would have seen it in his eyes. But no, he was not joking. He delivered that sentence the way one unveils a knife and goes poof, stab it in. I could feel pieces of myself crumble in front of him, but I kept a straight face, I nodded, and then I walked away. It was either that day or the next that I decided I could not be friends with him anymore. So I told him, I can't do this. I no longer need you. Goodbye. It must have stung him, but out of pride, he did not come up to me to try and repair the friendship. And that day, in 2021, as a 17-year-old, I learned something heavy and hard that would serve me very well into my adult years. Self-respect. Deep down, I knew that talking to him was not fruitful for me, for my art, for my well-being, and it was better to let him go. And as a treat, I bought myself these earrings on the way home. These bright blue earrings with gold tints. And I still have those earrings. When I look at them, I think of that time where I learned to respect myself. I also remember how hard it was for me to learn this lesson because what followed cut me really deep. I lost my confidence in my writing. What Sky had said was entrenched in my head, and I could not get his voice out. Every day I saw him in school, I felt the stab of hurt. And for about a year, during that last year of sixth form, I really struggled to write my novel. I gave up, I stopped writing. That was also the year my celiac got triggered. My body had shut down on me, and I had lost a friendship that was very dear to me. That year, I also learned something new about myself. I wrote my stories best when I allowed myself to love. But to grieve this friendship, I had to stop seeing each moment through a loving lens. I had to hate. And I hate having to hate because I don't hate. I hate the fact that I had to really see things for what they truly were. I could not romanticize things anymore. And it was not easy. To lose the very friendship that I loved and cherished was like poison seeping through my veins. It reminds me of this phrase by Elif Shafak, black milk. Milk is usually nourishing and it is white in colour, but whatever was seeping out of me and onto my writing was this polluted cloud of heartache, so murky I could not see my reflection. Every time I came home from school, my mother would ask me if I'd eaten. She'd notice me angrily smashing a laptop keyboard, writing chapter 1, then deleting it, then writing chapter 1 again. She knew what frustrated me, because those were the days I'd avoid eating breakfast so I could spend more time writing a story. I was obsessed. I just didn't want to stop. I wanted my flow back. That flow I had with stories, where words dripped out of me like pouring rain. Where did that go? And why? It felt almost as though Sky had taken that with him, and I hated him for it. In the years that followed, I entered university. During that first year, I was obsessed, not with equations, but with finding my writing flow again. When I was meant to be writing code into Python to figure out how a ball flows, or fluid flow, or how a reactor moves. You think I was doing that? No. I was trying to write the novel that had given up on me in sixth form. But when I entered second year, that was when everything changed for me. Not only did I start studying properly, paying attention in lectures, making notes, not bunking, but also I went to Umrah that year while I was in second year of university. And so going to Umrah was beautiful because it meant that I could really empty my heart out to Allah, and you can do that anyway, wherever you are. But I really felt this beautiful connection. I felt like bandages were being wrapped around my soul, and I felt refreshed, and my bones felt glowing and sharp and radiant. Like, I felt gorgeous, alhamdulillah. And I still carry that light with me still, 2 years later. I learned what it meant to love without losing yourself, and I think that was one of the biggest things I learned in second year. I learned to give that love to the one who created me. I learned to honour the boundaries set by Allah, and I learned the wisdom in my faith and the wisdom in going through a trial. And that Ramadan in 2024, while I was in second year of uni, I managed to write the first 100 pages of the novel I was working on. I just had to surrender to love, to a deeper love, far deeper than any love I could write about. Now, the focal question of this essay is, can a writer be a wife or a lover without losing her connection to her art? And I've thought about this constantly as the years tick by and I'm getting deeper and deeper into my 20s. Because if a writer who's also a wife or a lover pours everything into her marriage and into the man she loves, what will she have left to pour into her stories? And if she pours everything into her stories, then what will she have left to pour into her marriage? And what of children? How does a mother nurture new life when she is trying to birth her own identity as a writer? And more importantly, if she loves deeply and that love is not replenished, then what will she give herself? These are all very important questions to think about, and I figured out the answer. And the answer has always, always fundamentally been to pour love into Allah. When one door closes, like that door of my friendship with Sky, another door opens. But while I was in sixth form, all I could think about was the door that closed. I could not see the door that had opened right next door. The door towards becoming closer to Allah. The door of surrendering and placing my love in the safest place. And where could be a safer vault for one's love than to give that love to Allah? It is this realization that finally allows me to face the question I have carried for years. Can a writer be a wife or a lover without losing her connection to her art and to herself? I was 17 then. I'm 22 now. When doors close, I no longer bang on them for an answer. I turn around and I look for the door that has opened, and that door has always been the door of surrendering to Allah. As a writer, one of my most frequent du'as is that I ask Allah to give me writing time, and to let words burst out of me like rain, and I can describe the number of times where that du'a has been answered on the same day. That's your cue to say mashallah, by the way. I remember one time, I was so ill, and this was 2025, yeah? I was really ill, but there was a story I wanted to write, and I made dua asking Allah to guide my pen and my mind, and that night I woke up at 2 a.m. and I figured out the plot twist I was looking for. And I had a banging headache as well, and my nose was running, and I was ill in every single place, but Allah gave me so much strength to figure out the ending to that story. And then I went back to bed feeling so happy. I was like, oh, Alhamdulillah. And so going back to the question, can a writer become a wife or a lover without losing her connection to her art? The answer is yes. I truly believe she can, provided her heart is anchored in the right place. Now, if a woman expects a man to be the sole source of her joy and the muse for all her stories, she will eventually run dry. Because humans change, they metamorphosize, they do not stay the same. That light you had in a relationship 1 month in, it might become a rainstorm 6 months down, and you're like, what? Why? And that's okay. But if she surrenders her heart to Allah first, her love is no longer a finite well that can be drained by a husband, a closed door, or the cruel words of a boy from sixth form. Her love becomes an endless stream. It's all about where you put your heart. I know that as a writer, I've felt my art and my words grow so beautifully, alhamdulillah, when I place that love and that heart and that surrendering to Allah. When I know Allah as the source of love, as the source of words, as the source of intellect, as the source of everything beautiful in my life, when I place my heart there is no blockage. There is no black milk, if you will. The milk flows clean and white and radiant and glowy. It becomes an endless stream. When marriage comes, I know that I will love deeply, but I will no longer fear losing my writer self in the shadow of being a wife. My words do not belong to the sky or to any man. My words come from the one who guides my pen at 2 a.m. And as long as I look to Allah, the rain will always fall, and the ink will always flow. And another thing that I wanted to add was I recently read a book called 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak, and one of my favourite rules of love mentioned in that book is do not go with the flow, be the flow. As in, to me, I interpret that as follow what makes your heart really happy and everything will completely align. Like if you want to step out of a certain thing that's keeping you stagnant, step out. Be the flow, take those steps, see what becomes of you, see where it goes. Be explorative, see what happens. And I actually have the book like on my desk, so there's another rule of love that I really liked. Let me find it, it's the last page. Love is the water of life and lover is a soul of fire. The universe turns differently when fire loves water. To me, as a writer, it just makes me think of how beautiful it is when I choose what makes me so happy. I always feel like me and writing are like fire and water. Me and words are fire and water. We make the most beautiful explosion, and we are filled with the most beautiful of colours. Alhamdulillah. But yeah, do not feel afraid of what's to come in life. And do not go with the flow, be the flow. And love deeply. It is a strength. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this little essay, podcast, episode thing. See you for another episode soon, or next week, or the week after. I will be talking about the beauty of lowering your gaze. Till then, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and see you for another episode soon.